In 3, 2, 1, you are listening to the Real Spicy Podcast. My name is Pedro. We're back at it again with the white vans. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for listening. I'm super excited. This week we got the very sexy, very pretty, Mr. Hans Rico in the building. Yo, what's up, bro?
What's up, dude?
Dude, thanks
Glad to be here, man.
Thanks for being on the podcast again. But before we start, dude, what you been up to? Anything new?
I mean, not much, man. Just working, grinding, swiping away. You know, living that COVID dating life. You know, that's pretty much all I've been in. Not fucking, but like that's pretty much what I've been up to.
I mean that too, but we'll keep that down low.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, fuck, man. Dating during COVID. How's that?
It's so bizarre. Like you're like, oh cool, like we're gonna have masks on the whole time we meet. Sweet. All right. Hey, you ready to take your mask off? All right, cool. Then you had to get tested now before we can like get super close. But it was like, where was this like, you know, before COVID? Like shouldn't you have like gotten tested for like STDs and shit too? And no one gives a fuck. They're like, all right, cool. As long as I don't get COVID, I'm fine. But I can get fucking herpes. I don't give a fuck about that. Like syphilis I can cure. Fuck it, you know, like they're like, no, I want like they're so anal about that, which again you should be. It's very safe, and I definitely think it's you know, you should be wearing a mask and social distancing and whatnot until you get comfortable with somebody. And I think it is smart to do that. But I just think it's kind of funny that no one was thinking about being that smart about sexually transmitted diseases before. But
yeah, the focus more is now getting tested for COVID than STDs.
Yes.
Dating during COVID, you know, I try to dabble in that. I hated it because the one thing is because of COVID, the one answer I kept hearing, you know what? I just don't think I'm ready for a relationship right now. I'm just trying to focus on myself. I said, you had 30 years to focus on yourself. You're about to expire. Why are you now going to focus on yourself?
That's the classic like, hey, it's not you, it's me.
True.
This isn't about you. You're great. I'm just holding you back. I don't want to be that anchor. I want you to flourish and fly. I know I'm holding you back, and I would hate myself to do that to you. Not that I've ever said that before, but like I would imagine it sounds like that.
You said that with so much ease and confidence.
My friend told me how to do that.
So I had a friend.
I knew a guy who said that to a girl before.
Okay, it works. Yeah, but you know what? That is the cop out. I've been hearing that a lot.
So not what I always tell, but like I feel like what I've said when I meet somebody, I'm pretty upfront. I'm turning 30 soon. Like I'm in that place where I kind of like, you know, I want to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, because I finally grew up a little bit, and I've always said like, hey, look, at one point I was in love. You know, I was multiple times, but that was, you know, when I was really in love. When I was with that person, no other girl mattered. I want to be with someone that makes me feel like no other girl in the world matters.
Yeah.
You know, like I want that again.
Yeah.
So I always say that, and they're usually pretty like, oh, okay, I get that. I mean, that also means that I kind of have to like meet people and figure shit out. Yeah. Safely, of course, but you know, I want that feeling again. You know, that feeling of like when I'm with you. No one else is there. No one else matters. It's super like really romantic and but it's true though. Like, I'm a Scorpio. I'm into my emotions. I ain't got no shame in my game. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So,
dude, you know, I like to say that I'm a cuddler, not a fighter. But you know, to each his their own. Because you put a lot of pressure. Have you ever felt a heartbreak from it? Can you tell us like one heartbreak that you had? Because you said you've fallen in love multiple times, and that's fine because
we can go like I don't know how far back you want to go. So we can talk my first ever heartbrbreak.
The one that impacted you the most, not because you were sad, but it was a good life lesson.
Okay, I'll give you two. This is in the third grade.
Oh, right? Okay.
We're going way back.
Oh, we're going way back.
I mean, like this girl. I know if I said her name, she wouldn't really care, but I'm not gonna say just in case. But
okay.
She knows who she is. Third grade, Bernie Elementary. You know who you are. So, and like I tell you, I saw this girl and I was like, oh man, I'm in love. Like blonde hair, blue eyes. Like again, I'm 5. How old are you in the third grade? What, like 7?
Yeah.
But you know, I knew. I've always been into my emotions. I knew. And at that time, I remember like Romeo and Juliet was like, you know, a cool thing you had to learn. Like you had to recite the poem or whatever. Yeah. So I remembered the whole part of the poem where Romeo is outside the window. Like to Juliet, right? And I knew where she lived because it was like 2 blocks from my house on the way to school. It's on the way to school, right? So
I know where this is going.
I'd walk by her house every morning to school, and I would recite that poem out her window, and her mom was always like, oh, Hans is the guy for you. Hans is the guy for you. Again, I'm in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But from the 3rd, she just was like not into it. Like from the 3rd grade to like, I don't know, high school, I'd always had a thing for her and always trying to like get with her. And I remember there would be moments where she's like, Hans, you're just too Hans for me. And I was like, what? So I was like, even when I'm myself, I'm not good enough for you. So that's when I figured out, like, sometimes you just gotta fucking play the part and put on the face and act like the dude who's gonna act like the guy you want to be, and maybe they'll like that instead.
Yeah.
Learn that lesson.
That's actually a pretty big lesson. Yeah. You're just too Hans
for being for the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Right. That shit'll stick with you.
Yeah. That shit stings, man.
A little bit. And that's funny. And honestly, I am thankful because I still have that Romeo and Juliet section memorized. So to this day.
Good.
So it works out pretty well. But I think more realistically, 2017, I was dating a girl who I met in 2014, 2015-ish, like that winter, New Year time, right? And I was living in Indianapolis, and I was working for my fraternity. So like basically every like all the top, not say top, but like people that they hire to work for these organizations. Yeah. All those headquarters are in Indianapolis. Yeah. So you bring, I don't know, 80 guys and girls who are just out of college, now living on their own with other kids who are in that same mentality of like for lack of a better term, horny college kids. Yeah. Right? They're all like 23, 24, right? 22, 23, 24. And you put them in a hotel for 4 days straight. Shit's gonna go down, right? Oh yeah. And so you meet people and whatnot, and I met this girl, and I just like straight up like fell in love with her. I mean, like from the moment I met her, I was like, damn, like this is like I want to talk to that girl, right? Did everything I could, like wooed her as much as I could. We're talking like I did little hikes on this little like along the water bend in Indianapolis. I figured out what her favorite ice cream was. We took her to ice cream and all that stuff. Went to her house. It sounds like a movie. Went to her apartment and like did all these things, watched a movie, all that stuff, and then. We were only together for maybe like 3-4 weeks tops. Oh, not even that, probably like 3 weeks. And then we had to split. Like I had to work in that time. I had to move to Westchester, Pennsylvania. Yeah. She had to move to Florida. And it was like, wait, this isn't going to work out. I mean, it's not going to happen. But I did everything I could to like just kind of keep working at it. And it's classic like miscommunication. I learned this is what I learned from this. I learned being a better communicator because at the beginning of this, I'm all like, I thought we were boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, like if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. I mean, I'd go and visit. She'd come and visit. I mean, I'd FaceTime, and like my mom would be. We would like together FaceTime my mom. Yeah, you know, and like things like that, and be like very serious. So I'm like, I mean, we're together, you know, right? Yeah. To find out that she'd been like, you know, seeing her ex-boyfriend. And like totally crushed her. But then like, and then she's like, well, you were never really my boyfriend. We never talked about it. Like I'm in the clear. I told you I didn't want anything. I'm like, yeah, but I was doing everything to like be there. So like, I was just like, I did this to myself, you know? So like that really sucked. So I learned how to get better at communicating. But even after that, I still was like, you know what? I'm going to win this girl over. And I eventually did. Yeah. We dated. And then even when it came to those the 2.5, 3 years almost we were together, right? Off and on towards the end, you know, it was still very like, you know, I still kind of wanted it. She didn't, but then there was points where she wanted it and I didn't. It was just very like the timing of all of it was really fucked up. Yeah. And, you know, I just learned how to communicate better and how to, you know, how I wanted to be treated. Cause I feel like there was a lot of that kind of stuff happened in that. And from, again, like that, whether it had been miscommunication, but, you know, someone who was just very self-focused on themselves, not in a bad way, but you know, I don't say I'm clingy, but I want to be like
embrace.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very like all in over, like I'm overwhelmingly in love, but
the same energy that you give, you want back.
Exactly. And sometimes I never felt that a lot. So that was kind of hard for me. And when we broke up, it was a lot of self-realization and heartbreak, in the sense of like, okay, like heartbreak. It's kind of that heartbreak nowadays, because that was 2017. I feel like in the beginning of 2019, I was like, fuck, man. Like, if I would have known what I know now, even though it's only 2 years later, that would be it. Like, I could fix this. Like, I know how to do it. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, she's a different person now. I'm a little bit of a different person now. I don't even know if we were to get together, it'd be the same.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So.
Damn, bro. I think we all go through some sort of heartbreak or lesson. And
yeah, for sure.
That's something that kind of reminds me of I remember a while ago that I was talking to a girl, and at first it was just purely physical. I was like, yes, awesome. And she made it very clear, you can date. You don't even have to tell me. Unless you do hook up, let me know. Obviously, which I respected. Cool. So I went on dates because I know what I wanted. I wanted a relationship.
Yeah.
I wanted something long term. So I went on dates. I let her know. I didn't hide it. Time went by, and it was like I got messages, and she's like, "So you date other girls, and you don't take me out on dates?" I was like, "You said that we're not dating." She's like, "Well, you never attempted to because you said no." So I went on a date, and I took her out. It was the most I've ever done in a date. We went to like some sort of museum. At the time, it was
classic.
Like, you remember that it was a museum where you enter a room with a bunch of mirrors, and it looks like you're floating in space.
Oh, you went to the Broad or the Broad in LA.
No, they have one here.
Oh, they have one here? But yeah, it's that, I know exactly.
Same artist.
Same thing, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I took her there, and then we went to a speakeasy.
Classic.
And I went to a restaurant, and so I did the whole thing, and she loved it. And then she's like, "You know what? I think you're moving too fast."
Like, that's normal. That's so normal. Like that's the same shit where, like, for me, that's what's crazy. I kind of almost get like, I kind of just like biting the own ass, is because I'm so extra. Like, a date to me is, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'm gonna pick you up at this time.
Yep.
I'm gonna show up at that time too. It's like, if I say 7:30, I'm gonna be there at 7:30.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go here. We're gonna have dinner. We're gonna probably get dessert here too. I know there's gonna be this movie, and we're gonna go here, and we're gonna end it here. Like, there's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Which a lot of girls, I feel like, are always like, "Oh my god, I want a guy like that. That's so proud of this, that, blah blah."
Yeah, but when they get it.
But then sometimes they get like, "Oh my god, this is so much." Maybe it's because you've been talking to fucking assholes or fuck boys who literally are just like, "Do you want to just go get food and then come back to my place?" Or even it's just simple. Maybe they'll do like one of those 4 things, and it's not that, but.
Talking to my friends, sometimes they are the fuck boys that like, I took her on a date, dude. I'm just trying to smash. I'm not. It was one of those like, you're moving too fast, but I think we should work this out. You're moving like at 100. I need you to lower it down to like at 2. I was like, cool.
To 2.
Yeah. So I remember that because I was like, all right, 2. So I didn't message her. I didn't talk to her, and she's like, so how come you haven't called? You just said you don't. Well, I don't think you understand what I want. No, I actually don't. I really don't. It was just one of those where, okay, let's try this out, be ourselves, and we did. And Valentine's came, and dude, apparently I did too much. I just got her flowers, and then it was one of those where like, I like you, but you know what? I'm just not over my ex. It's not gonna work.
There's always there's always a but. Here, I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so this was in college. Yeah. And Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. So I met this girl, and from this like, really cool. Like, she was badass. She's like she's Latina, and she was like, she knew her shit. She was badass. Like, I almost very like comes off very strong, even for like a lot of people who probably couldn't handle it. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for it. Like, she's really pretty and super down to earth, and like she was studying to be like, she started working to be not a nurse, but
she had goals.
Yeah, she had goals. Yeah, she wanted to be like she had things she wanted to do, and she was gonna get them. And kudos to her, she has. So fucking proud of you. But so Valentine's Day comes up, right? And like, I'm like, okay, hey, do you want to like be my Valentine? Blah 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 blah. And she was like, I knew that she had other dudes to possibly go to Valentine's Day with. Like, other guys hit her up, but like she was like, you know what? Like, I'll throw Hans the bum. It's like, all right, cool, right? I planned this whole thing. I picked her up because I had my car in college, thankfully. Yeah. Picked her up. I knew we were gonna go. We went and got food. We had like tapas and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. After, we went to a little museum and like walked, and then this was still in February in Vegas, so it's not too hot. So we only went outside and like did that whole walk thing. I think we were by Boca Park area. Okay. Right. So it's kind of nice right there. Yeah. And then
hella bougie.
Yeah. And then I'd handwritten her a card.
That's cute.
Like a handwritten card, like classic, like roses are red, violets are blue, something, whatever, right? So, and I'm talking like hecho a mano. Like, I freaking, took the cardboard paper. Yeah. I got markers. I even did a little thing to make like a little pop up. So it was like a pop up card. So it was like, dude, I went on Pinterest, right? Like, I really tried.
Dude, you did exactly what I did.
I went on Pinterest and really tried to make this fucking card cool. And she's like, oh my God, I love it. This and that, blah, blah, blah. We had like maybe 1 or 2 dates after. So it's like 2 weeks now. I'm like, hey, I really like you. I feel like I'm getting the same vibe from you. Like, so like, what's up? And she's like, Hans, like, you're super great. Like, you're very nice and blah, 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 blah. But you're just too short for me. I was like, yo, I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. Like when I wake up in the morning and stretch out. Yeah. And if I wear shoes and stand up straight, I'm pretty sure I'll look like I'm 5'10". Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a Mexican American dude with like, right?
Yeah.
But
I bet you she was like 5'1".
And she's like 5'6", 5'7", maybe. So I'm like, even if you had 3-inch heels, like you'd barely be taller than me, and I could probably fake it. And it's like, I could tippy toe for the picture. Like, yeah. Good fuck, right? And that was it. There's always a but.
There is always a but, dude.
And they usually have a nice butt too.
True. The one thing that I remember was like one line, and it was at Valentine's Day, and it was one of those where I believe it was out of like malicious intent. That's how I felt. And now I was like, maybe. But I remember those flowers. Ooh. And then she's like, oh, you got me flowers. It's too much. You're doing too much. And I was like, oh, and then she said, I really like him. A few days later, we met up, and she brought them up again, and then she's like, you know what? I really wanted flowers, but I just wish they were from somebody else.
Damn. I mean, that's a really vicious way to put you in the friend zone.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Let it go. We're done, type of thing. But I'd rather just step away from it. But dude, I was heartbroken for like months.
That's a really harsh way to get in a friend zone. It's even worse though sometimes when someone always reminds you in the friend zone. Yeah. Like there's this one girl who I text every now and then. We like catch up and whatnot. And like I always had a kind of like a little thing for her too. And like we had like a moment before. Yeah. But a lot of the time she'll always text me. She's like, "Hi, friend." I'm like, you can just say hi. You don't have to remind me that we're just friends. Like even though like we don't live anywhere near each other, but like the option of like if I like honestly like just straight up, if I could move there, and or if I did happen to move there and like things would work out, like I'd for sure like be trying to talk to her. Like I would be very I'd go out of my way to do it, right? And it's like always like, "Hi, friend." "Oh, thanks, friend." I'm like, oh, God damn it. Why you gotta remind me like that?
I want to go back to the beginning. You said that you were doing consulting for your fraternity, but then in the last episode you mentioned like you talked to a lot of girls. How was that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so the way it worked was, I mean, I would go to a college campus. Yeah. And my goal was to try and recruit dudes to be in a fraternity. But we wanted to find the guys that were not your typical fucking like, "What's up, frat bro?" Dude. We're not trying to find that guy.
Yeah, the stereotype.
Yeah, we were trying to find guys who were on campus who wanted to actually make a change. And we would say, "Hey, look, our organization is about X, Y, and Z values. We want to find guys who would actually care about that and not just say they're about it. Like, oh yeah, we know we really care about this and that. Like, no, like actually like meant it and would be involved on campus and do the things that a real fraternity should do: raise money, create brotherhood, and have a good time and not be assholes." Yeah. Right. So, but it's hard to just find those guys. So we kind of have to cast a net out, and the way we would cast a net was we would go to sorority meetings, dressed up in a suit. And I have a little bow tie on because I mean I was mostly in the South and the East Coast.
Yeah, so you have to have the bow tie.
So I had the bow tie and a hand fuck. And I'm talking like I hand tied the bow tie. Like I didn't do a clip on.
That's how you got to do it.
Thing to actually learn how to tie it right.
The bow tie, sometimes I would say, it's like when you describe a woman, you know how women are, you know, they see all the imperfections, like, oh, I'm my legs are too big or my face is something. Well, I think a woman's imperfections is what makes them perfect.
That's a good quote from Justin. Like that's what he would always tell me. He's like, an imperfect bow tie is what makes it perfect.
Yes, and that's how
he told me that.
Yes, and that I've always lived by that because there's no such thing as a perfect hand-tied bow tie. I think that's why you get a clip-on. But why get a clip-on?
Exactly. You gotta put the work in. So I put the work in. It looked good, right? And we would go into these sorority meetings, and I have everything down. I would know the names of their founders. I would know what school they were founded on, their colors, what like everything, like the not like the secrets, but like the public things that only they really knew. But they were public, so you can Google it, but no one would actually know to Google it. Like, for example, we would
if you don't belong, like why Google if you're not part of it?
Yeah, so like for example, like we would go into the Delta Gamma meeting, and not a lot of people know what Delta Gamma stands for. It actually stands for do good, right? So I would be like, I would drop that in like the meeting, you know, I'd go be like, I'd walk in, have a briefcase, right, and walk in, all quiet. And you just have like sororities always have like 300 women, and I'm like the one dude, and they're very strict. They'd be like, okay, now we have Hans, and Hans is gonna be in here, and he's coming from yada 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 fraternity. Everyone quiet up, and then they're all quiet. I'd walk in all quiet, put my suitcase down, and look around, just smile. So, ladies, I want to share with you all a story that takes place over 100 years ago at insert where their school is from.
Yeah.
And it was at this school where a group of women came together who wanted something more than just a college degree. They wanted purpose and meaning within friendships. This is just cookie cutter shit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I turn the oven on.
Yeah.
The butter's there. It's melting.
Uh-huh.
I'm just waiting a little bit more to just like cover the whole thing.
Okay.
And it would be like, then I would go, these women, they came together, and now I'm dropping like founders' names.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I forgot what organization, but like I'd drop a name, and like Mary Comfort Leonard, I think was one of the names, right? And it was there where her and her 3 friends knew that there was more, that they didn't want to just do well.
Uh-huh.
They didn't want to like do okay. They wanted to do good. And they would be like, oh shit. And you know, sororities, they're like,
yes.
they're all snapping away. And like all the freshmen were like, oh damn, like he knows his shit. And like the seniors would be like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. All right. And so then I'm like, and then I would do that. And then like my partner, the dude how I would like be working with, be like all hot. Ladies, what's up? My name is blah, 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 blah. And this is Hans. He needs no introduction. And we're here from Yale fraternity. And we're blah, blah, blah. You know, we'd talk it all up.
Yeah.
And shit. And then we would be like, I'd go, hey, ladies, I put a card in front of you. Now I want you all to close your eyes. Imagine your ideal fraternity man. Imagine him. What are some of the qualities he has? And then I want you to write those qualities down. So they'd write them on the card. And they would be like, you know, faithful, calls me back. Like, you know, family oriented. And there's always that one girl put like hung, right? Or like there's always like that one person, or there's always like that one girl that'd be like, you know, like doesn't ghost me, you know, shit like that. And then I'm like, cool. And I'm like, and I would be like, all right, ladies, like yell them out.
Yeah.
So they'd yell it all out. And then, all right, I'm gonna stop you. Can I add one? And I put, you can take him back home to mom. And again, snaps. Ooh, snap. Like, because you can't argue that, right?
Yeah, no.
So I would like add into it, and again, just kind of like feeding the fire. And then I would say, you know what, ladies, these are all great qualities. We know that there are guys on campus that you know who have these qualities. I want you to turn that card over, pull your phones out, and just, you know, give us 2 or 3 names of the guys and their phone numbers. We want to talk to them. We're not going to tell them you gave them the number. We're not even going to tell them to join a fraternity. We just want to talk to them, get to know them. And that's what we would do. So then we would go into these organizations, and that compared to like what people do nowadays, like, hey, what's up? We're the guys of Zeta, and we're here to help. We're looking to find guys on campus. Could you please help us? Here is a sheet. We're going to pass it around. If you could just like write the name of a guy and his number, let's see if he'd be good to rush this year. Right, that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's very traditional.
Or they would like take our idea and try to do that.
Yeah.
That's what they would do with it, but they couldn't do the way we did it, right?
Yeah.
So then, and I would walk out with like, I'm talking there's probably 300 girls in a room. We walk out with like 400 to 500 names and numbers. And like 50 of those names were usually their own names and numbers. Yeah. And that's where it got tricky, because now I'm like, okay, I'm 24, and I was kind of feeling myself after I do that whole thing. I'm like, okay, it feels good when you have like 300 girls just like,
dude, you came in there with like the biggest dick energy
I came in there just like boom,
Yeah.
I went in there, and then now I'm like, okay, cool, can't let it go to my head. And then I'm like seeing the numbers. I'm like, oh damn, this girl called me. Oh, this girl. I don't know what the girl looks like. She just put a name and a number, right? So we would like put those ones to the side. And then we'd be like, dude, how much did you get? He's like, oh, I got this many. Oh, I got this many. Like it was just kind of like fun, like just dudes doing dude shit, right? But I mean, like we would never call them. Like it was against our policy. Like, and plus at this time, this was around the same time that I was that girl that I mentioned earlier, who I was like in love with. I was dating her, so I didn't want to fuck that up at all. So like I never called any of those girls or anything like that. But one of them, at the end of the meeting, we would also go, hey, if any of you ladies weren't like comfortable giving us that guy's information, here's our information. Feel free to call us. You'll see us on campus. We're going to be by the student union at the Starbucks or the Chick-fil-A. Come by, say hi. We want to hear your story too. So I'd sit there, and then since I gave them my number, I'd get texts, maybe like 4 or 5 texts sometimes, and be like, oh my God, thanks for coming. Our room is so good. Just so you know, Becky's going to have a birthday on Saturday at Yard House if you want to come by. And I'm like, I'm not going to go to your fucking some girl's birthday. B, like, just no.
Yeah.
But there was one, I did hit a low point, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just like, I'm going to say no. I'm not just cruise by. I'm just gonna cruise by. I'll do like the whole like. I'll do the peripheral.
Yeah.
I'll do the peripheral, and then I just walk by and like do the little thing.
Oh, you're here. Oh, I didn't know you were gonna be here. Type of vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and so I went by and just walked by, and it was like biggest regret, just like dimes. I'm like, God damn it, cheese and rice, dude.
Cheese and rice.
But again, these are like 18, 19-year-old girls. Yeah. Like I didn't need that, you know. So I mean, people judge all you want, but I was just really into that. I was like in love with that girl. Yeah, and I didn't want to fuck that up. I mean, I'm sure that other organizations and other fraternities, guys did that, and sometimes those girls find out, and that's what gives a lot of gives a bad rep to us for like myself, guys who actually were trying to do our job, you know. So. Scouts honor. I did like Scouts honor. I did that shit, you know, like the real way. Didn't fuck around.
Yeah.
But I did meet some really cool people that when her and I broke up, and then those girls had graduated college, we stayed friends on Instagram, and they definitely hit me up a lot. And I was like, okay, well at this point I don't work for the organization anymore.
Yeah. It's free
I'm
game.
single.
Yeah.
She's out of college. Like, we're good. And then I was like starting to hit people up. So it kind of had like a little bit of backburn, like a backlog. You know? I was like, you know, had to wait a bit.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. You are right about when you are in love with somebody, it's all or nothing. You're all in. And then, hey, man, at least you're faithful. That's always good. It's hard to find a faithful person.
If you'd be surprised, I've been cheated on a few times. It's pretty shitty.
Oh, yeah. You know, talking about faithfulness, it's trendy to cheat on your girl. When the hell did that become a thing?
I don't know what's on your For You page on TikTok, but I definitely don't get that. I mean, I feel like I want to disagree. I think that more women nowadays are looking for that. I think even with COVID and like the increase in online dating, it's allowing a lot of people to date multiple people at the same time. But I still think that they're all looking for the same thing. So like I might meet a girl who's like, yeah, like I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. They're now being a lot pickier.
Yeah.
Or they're going to start noticing, ooh, because it's like Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah. It's
like you be swiping, like, oh, I got one. This one's cool. This is shiny. Check it out.
Yeah.
And then like you're like, okay, I'll keep. And then you're just like bored and you're going again, like, oh, open another booster pack, right? Like, damn, this one's not as shiny as this one. So I'll like keep this one like as a double. I got a double, right? So you know, right? It's like, it was like that. And then you can get a better shiny one. You're like, oh, this is the fucking Mewtwo, right?
Yeah.
I had a Venusaur right here. Now I got a Mewtwo. Shit. I want to focus on the Mewtwo now. But this one's still good, but then you ghost that one and you're like, you know, that's what happens. And it's just this mentality of like, on to the next, what's better? Let me keep swiping because I'm going to find something really good. You know? And that's kind of shitty. So I feel like I think people are still looking for the same thing. They're just going about it in a really shitty way now.
You and I have sometimes these talks, and dude, some of your dating stories are incredible. Some from like ups and downs, and some are hilarious. I'm like, dude, like this looks like straight out of a movie. I sometimes wish I had stories like that because I'm like, dude, ever since I lost weight, man, I can't talk about fat people jokes, because they're
you look good, by the way. Too,
oh,
man.
Thank you. Because it's just not as funny. Like I'm still like a little bit overweight, but in order to execute the perfect fat joke, you have to be like morbidly obese, or else it's not funny.
Yeah.
So I got nothing. I need material, and dude, use some of your material. I'm like, all right, maybe if I use his material, I'll make sure he just doesn't go. So I want to talk about the story that you had, that you mentioned to me about the singer.
Okay. This was honestly almost a year ago. It's actually still kind of recent. So yeah, so I was on a dating app, right? And swiping away, and I meet this girl, super pretty. Like I'm talking, like she was really pretty. Yeah. And then she was really humble. Like super, like all her pictures were all like super nice. I'll take it all like legit wise. Yeah. Like, all the pictures had like like the color story. All that crap. And I was like, all right, let me message this chick. So we're messaging, whatnot, and then I'm like, hey, like what are you doing this weekend? And she goes like, oh, like nothing going on. Like, we do want to hang out. So we finally like met up and hung out, and everything was fine. It was cool. She seemed cool. Normal date. I think we went to watch the sunset. Yeah, super chill. And then now I have her number. We're texting, and she goes, hey, like just so don't be like, you know, too weirded out. Like I'm an influencer. And I was like, okay, like all right, like so is every other girl on fucking Instagram now, you know. She's like, no, like I have like over 18,000 followers, mostly in like Mexico, and she's like a Mexican influencer. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I'm sponsored by Estrella Jalisco, like the beer.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I was like, what?
Oh, dude, we are too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm part of an organization. We're sponsored by them too.
Yeah. So I was like, that's crazy. She's like, yeah. And like for Dia de los Muertos, they're going to have this party. Like, do you want to come? And I'm like, shit. Like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah. So I go to the party and like now we're cool. We had already hung out and talked. Super wild. And I was like, hey, like, do you want to go to this bar after? So yeah, we go to this bar. We're drinking a few beers and whatnot. And we're in LA. And then she texts me, or she didn't text me, but like she like we're meeting with some other of her friends there, and she texts me from like the other side of the bar, and she's, hey, like one of the guys here is having a birthday party on Skid Row at this like apartment. Do you want to go? And I was like, man, fuck dude, like I don't want to go to Skid Row, some fucking house party, right?
Yeah.
We go to this house party, and ends up being a DJ guy that I knew from high school. And they're doing like it's like a tattoo party, so you go in, they're just giving free tattoos. Everyone's dancing. And I was like, "What the hell?" So, and I think the fact that I knew that, and like she was like, I thought it was like a random dude. I come up, and it's like my homie used to DJ, and we're like, I'm spitting a hit with him and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, "Oh my god, like that's crazy." So there was like all these like all the right things were happening, right? And so then fast forward, this has been like only a week. Fast forward to the second week, right? And she goes, "You want to come over to my house?" Love to. What do you want? I'll bring over some wine. It's like, yeah. So I brought over a bottle of wine. We're like making cookies. We put on cocoa. We're singing. We put it in Spanish too, right? So we're singing Un Poco Loco, like all that shit. You know, we were getting down. And obviously, you know me, I'm like dancing. I love Disney, so we're having a good time. And one glass of wine turns into 5, and that turned into us talking and getting all like emotional. And I think we were listening to she was listening to her music, and I was just like, all right, this is going a weird turn. And she's like, yeah, like my ex-boyfriend this and blah, 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 blah. Like this is why I've always liked Coco, you know, because he's actually works at Disneyland. And I'm like, oh, like that's cool. It's like, yeah, he's like one of the artists there. And I was like, okay, like whatever. I'm thinking like, you know, draws or some shit. Right? And I'm like, oh, damn, that's really cool. Why'd you leave him? That sounds dope. But they're like, yeah, this and that shit happened. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta change his mood up. We're listening to like sad music. We have like fucking Vicente Fernandez, like El Rey's playing on their iPod or whatever, right? And then I can't believe I just said iPod. Like it's playing in the background. Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? Like, do you want to just like change the music up? Like, you want to just slow dance and like dance around just us two? And I'm like, that's gotta be a good move, right? Yeah. And she's like, you know what? I'd love that. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm taking like the phone off the Bluetooth. To like change the music, and I'm turning off this mariachi music, but then I still hear mariachi music playing at like this is like 12:31 in the morning, right? And she lives in like in East LA. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on? And I tell her, I'm like, hey, do you hear that? And she's like, what? I'm like, do you hear that? And it's someone outside. Like singing like mariachi, like belting it. And then she goes, oh God, no. I'm like, what? He's here. I'm like, what do you mean he's here? My ex-boyfriend. And I'm like, what? Literally, she opens the door. Homeboy is on the front door porch, fucking singing mariachi music for her, trying to win her back. I'm inside the house with like 2 glasses of wine. My shoes are off because we've been chilling. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Then it hits me. When she meant artist, and this is why you're watching Coco, he actually plays in the mariachi band at Disney that does like the Coco stuff in like that little pavilion in California Adventure. So I'm like, oh, dude is like a actual like musical artist, right? And she's outside bawling, crying. The door opened like outwards. Yeah. So like I'm kind of hidden behind the door so he doesn't see that I'm inside. He has no idea that I'm inside. She's bawling on the floor. I'm sitting there like with like fucking like an idiot with wine and my shoes off. I literally just chug mine down, put hers down, put my shoes on, start stretching. I'm like, dude, I might have to fight this guy. Like, what if he comes in? I don't know what he looks like. What if he's bigger than me? I don't know. Like, if he comes in here with he's gonna start swinging the guitar. So I'm like trying to like get my reflexes ready. I'm like stretching. I'm like, okay, like little jumping jacks and shit. Yeah. And then, fortunately enough, he did not come inside. Yeah. She comes back inside, comes into my arms, and just like starts crying. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed. This and that. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what can I do? What do you want me? What do you want me to do? What can I help? She's like, I just want to get rid of him. Like, you want to get rid of him? She's like, I just want him to go away. I was like, all right. So I called the cops. So I called the cops,
especially in East LA.
Yeah. So I just called the cops on this dude. Yeah. Cops come by, tell him to shut up and leave, and then I left. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, shit happens. We all have our baggage and things. So I made her feel super comfortable.
Good.
I'm like, don't worry about it. Fast forward, like a week. I haven't heard from her. Like, I texted her. She does not responding to me. She finally messages me back and says like, hey, like, I'm so sorry about this. I just think if it's okay if we take a break for a bit. was like, yeah, that's fine. So I don't hear from her for like 3 weeks. They're engaged. 3 weeks later, engaged on social media. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you gotta be fucking bullshitting me right now. Like, they're engaged.
Hey, dude, the power of mariachi, dog.
Dude, and then now this day they are married. And I think I want to say maybe like 2 months ago during like right in the heart of all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
She texted me saying like, I totally thought you like I might had a dream where you died and I felt so bad. I just wanted to reach out to you. Hope you're okay. And I was like, what? Why are you messaging? Don't you have like a boy? Like, hang with your husband. Like, why are you DMing me shit right now?
Oh shit! I didn't know that
Yeah,
part.
yeah. So that's the infamous mariachi story. I'm just sitting there literally just like, I'm just trying to like bust a move. Like, hey, what if we slow dance? Maybe we can kind of get close. I'm like, obviously they'll change the vibe. And fucking homeboy just shows up with a fucking guitar. So I mean, I've been taking guitar lessons basically. And if I could check my YouTube channel, I do covers.
If someone brings a mariachi to you to propose their love or like an apology or an engagement, dude, that's a keeper in Mexico. But I didn't think that worked here in the States because she's Mexican American, probably. Yeah,
no, she was actually, if I'm not mistaken, she was born in Mexico, grew up in Seattle, and then and now lives here. So I think they're. I think I'd have to like search her on Instagram, but I'm pretty sure she lives in Seattle with this dude now, married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, bro, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's wild. but there was a good portion. Like, if you look at the shit that happened to me in college, all the girls I dated in college, a good majority of them, like, dated a girl, the next guy married, like, dated this girl for a little bit, that next dude she got with, they're now married. There was like 5 women that I've dated in college who married the next guy. Like, that's a very common theme. I'm like, good luck, Chuck. So if you're looking to get married, we can date, and then you might find the dude after. So. But that I mean, it's probably you're gonna bet 50-50 on that one for sure.
Damn, dude, I might take the parlay on that.
Yeah.
Dude, is there another story that you would like to share? Dude, I was not expecting that story to be like really good.
I mean, I got random ass stories. I mean, there's a funny one. So like when like this whole like. You always say like, oh, the confidence of Hans, but I never really had like confidence. I've always had just like my friends egging me on to do stupid shit, and I would do it. And I remember very vividly I want to say it was my senior year of high school, and we're like my first time going to house parties. And my buddy, he had like a Lexus IS 250, so we thought we were all badass. And we would always drive. And we went to the Halloween store, and like you always have like if you're like a caveman, you want to carry like the fake plastic bone.
Yes.
He'd put the bone in the back seat. And so when he'd pick up girls, like, hey, do you want a bone in the back seat? And he'd pull out the fucking the bone.
That was his pickup line?
That was his pickup line. He's an idiot. And I thought, I mean, obviously I'm a 17-year-old thinking it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So we would like, we're fucking leaving a house party. Again, I'm like 17 years old. Leaving a house party and driving this car thinking we're all badass. And we're like catcalling girls, like dumb shit. And I remember seeing this girl walk down the street and who was probably at the party we were just leaving. Like, we had just left the parking spot, right? And he's like, dude, yo, that girl looks really cute. And I was like, yeah? Watch this. And literally out the fucking window, my fucking, I'm talking about afro and all. It was like twice the size of this.
Yeah.
Curly afro. I was like, yo. She just turns around. I'm like, you want to make out? And she's just like, yeah, sure. So I hop out the car, and my buddy's just sitting there for like a minute while we're making out with this girl, get her number, ended up dating her for like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know why when you said, hey, you want to make out? It reminded me, it's very popular right now on TikTok. It's the Tony and Ezekiel story where it's like, hey, what's your name? It's Ezekiel. Oh, fuck you, Ezekiel. What's your name? Tony. Hey, Tony. Fuck you, Tony. You've never heard of that one?
No, I haven't seen.
Dude, it's been a lot of my for you. What's it called?
For you page.
For you page. Yeah. So that kind of reminded me of that.
Mine is mostly like random TikTok dances, and like actually I follow a lot of like photographers, and they're always like, hey, play this sound if you're a photographer. We want to see your content. I want to see what you do. Like, it's a lot of that shit like that.
Oh yeah, mine is like sounds. Hacks. Like presets. I get a lot of those. So mine is 2 things: photography and simp shit. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Here's a funny story. So I went on another dating app, and I'm on this app, and I meet this girl, and I have to tell. I have to say her name because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So obviously, my name is Hans. My dad's name is Hans. I'm not a junior. I'm the second because obviously, in Mexican culture, if you're a junior, they'll sometimes just call you junior. So my dad specifically put second. So I'm the second. My mom's name is. So I meet this girl, and who's also named, And on the first date, I was like, hey, isn't it kind of funny that like my name's Hans and my dad's name's Hans and your name's and my mom's name's and I think it's just so funny. And she was just like, never start off a date with that ever again. And I was like, got it. Will do. So we're already to a great start.
Yeah.
Luckily, I saved it with the date. We went to this taco place in like Marina Del Rey, super cool, and that led us to having like I bet you I can make better guac than you. And she's like, I make better guac than you. And no, trust me, you're white. I make better guac than you. So and I was like this and that. I'm like, are you challenging me to a guac off right now? Are we having a guac off? It was like, kind of, I was able to save it by being funny and flirty and dorky. Yeah. That's like my funny, flirty, dorky. That's like my wheelhouse. Yeah. So then we are on a date, and then the rest of the date went well. She texts me back, and she's like, hey, like, what are you doing on Friday? I was like, no plans. She's like, want to have that guac off? Like, oh, for sure. Go to her house. She's like, yeah, I live in West LA, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Go to her house. I bring in ingredients to make guacamole and this and whatnot. And she's like, hey, just so you know, like, my roommate might be coming back. Might be coming. He hasn't been here in a while, but he might come tonight he was in Europe. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Just in case some fucking random dude walks in, right? No worries. We're there, we're eating. Door opens, the roommate's there. And he walks in with like 4 bags full of shit, and he has on like a backpack, and he has like one of those like whips, like one of like not whips, but like like when you're like an equestrian to like hit the ass of the fucking horse. He has like one of those things. And I was like, oh, like cool. It's like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I was in England. Went to like a bunch of stuff out there, this and that. I'm thinking like polo matches or whatever. Yeah. No. Turns out when he goes in there and I was like, oh, wait. I was like, oh, cool. Like, you ride horses? It's like, oh, no, this is something else. I was like, oh, okay. And then she laughs at me. I was like, what? She freaking tells me, it's like, oh, yeah, he's like really into like bondage and all this stuff. And he was in Europe for like 2 weeks at like some sex convention. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, like he always brings people over. And like, she's like, and I was like, have you ever like joined in on any of these things? Like, no, they're like orgies. I'm like, so hold on, let me get this straight. We're making guacamole with this, and then the roommate is a guy who has like orgies every weekend. And I was like, this is like, there's no way that you're not in those orgies at one point. Like, you gotta be, right? And it was like super wild. It gets weirder. So as we are continuing the date, one thing leads to another.
Guacking off.
as we're guacking off, right? Hashtag guac off. Yeah. Yeah. So as we're like, things are getting hit, heavier and this and that, and we're in the bedroom, and she's like, and like, I wouldn't say I'm like into freaky shit, but like, I'm doesn't have to always be missionary with me. We can move around shit. Yeah. She wanted me to. She's like, can you like hit me really hard? I was like, what? Like, she's just like punch me. I was like, I can't do this. I had to like walk away. I was like, I'm all for. I mean, like, okay, I understand that there are things that get women off, and there are things that get guys off, and it could be different. And just because it's weird and you're not into it, it shouldn't mean that you shouldn't shame them. Yeah. You're into you are into what you're into. You got to do that. Yeah. Right. But there are some things I just don't want to do, and I'm not gonna hit a girl. Yeah. Hit a woman. I'm not gonna do it. Even if it does get her off. Maybe if it was like,
like a slight slap.
Maybe if I had known her longer and like we had the relationship where it was like, okay, this is like what we're doing. It was just like the second time hanging out, and we'd only known each other for like 4 days. I'm like, I'm not gonna punch you. No, not gonna happen. So I stopped talking to her. But that was probably the most one of the most craziest things.
She wanted to get Mike Tyson.
She wanted to get punched. And like I said, it's some things that our girls are into. And it's what it is. There was actually one girl. So I was working we had a work Christmas party. Yeah. And I was like DMing girls and had the whole like college thing, like those girls who hit me up after, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay. So one of those girls was like DMing me. I was like, oh shit, I remember her from that school. She hits me up and I'm like, hey, like we have a Christmas party. I know like you've been wanting to come to LA. You want to just like be my date to this Christmas party? And she's like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah. So like I helped pay for a ticket. Yeah. She flies out with me to LA. I like rented a hotel for the both of us for the 3 days. Took her to like all these museums in LA. Took her out to eat. All this like fun stuff. And like she was like loving it. Went to Hollywood sign. She'd never been to California before. So I was like, easy money. I know all the fucking spots. Let's go. Yeah. So she was loving it. We go back to the hotel. She's like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to I told her, like, hey, you stay at the hotel. I have to go pick up some shit from my house and then stuff from work. I'll be back here. And she's like, all right, cool, no sweat. 3 hours comes by. I come back to the hotel and there is a swing hanging from the roof. Like it was like you hook it not from the roof, but like she hooked it from the door, like how like the fucking like you do pull-ups and push-ups. A fucking swing. The homegirl brought a sex swing to with her from where she's from to this LA hotel, and she had a sex swing, and I was like, what is going on? And she was all dressed up. I'm talking like straps, the fucking like the lace, the like the nipples show, like the whole 9 yards. And she looked really good. She brings this fucking swing out, and I was like, oh god, like and then needless to say, I swung on the swing, but it was just very different, and I was something I was not ready for. Like I feel you gotta warn somebody with that. That's you don't just go 100 real quick. Like I said, we were at like 5. Yeah. We had a nice night going to like the other thing the night before, and was checking her, and we were doing stuff, but we hadn't like hooked up yet. Yeah. The swing came out, and that was where I was like, okay, we're doing this. Like that one I was okay with. That one I was okay with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because at least you're not knocking anyone out.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, some of these stories are incredible. I don't know why, man, but that mariachi one has always been my favorite story. I was like, hey, Hans, tell me that one story about the mariachi.
The mariachi one.
And you're like,
that was just funny because it's so random and like so unexpected. I mean, like the other two were also very unexpected, but in different ways. Yeah. Like that one was more wholesome. These ones, not so much.
Yeah. Maybe I feel like the sex ones or like anything of that nature, I feel like I've seen probably part of like a comedy skit or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's part of a movie, but like I've never heard, or probably like I've heard guys had something similar, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone just have a mariachi outside their house. Unless you're like in the 1960s from Mexico.
And the worst part about that is like it wasn't like anything bad was happening. I was like just trying to be a nice dude. And then,
hey, let's go dance.
And so, let's do this. And then, homeboy, I guess, had to show me up. And I mean, maybe that's why they're married. And I'm still over here single, so I don't know.
Traveling the world, filming I was gonna say Michael Jackson, filming Oscar De La Hoya, going across the U.S. I mean, that's pretty badass.
Every now and then.
Thank you for sharing. Hopefully, I didn't put you on the spot.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, good.
The other stories I brought up myself. So
okay, good. I think we reached that time. I don't want to go over too much. Hopefully, whenever you're back in town, you can come back on the podcast. Because you're going to do more with your job.
For sure.
Even with COVID, I feel like everything's going to go back to normal. Not soon, but hopefully sooner than later. You'll have more stories, and I feel like you have a plethora of stories. So when you're back in town, hopefully I can get you back on the podcast.
We'll do, man. And I'm actually it's oddly enough you can tell you some of the stories.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I think it's on. I believe it's on Amazon. You can publicly publish a book for like an ebook for free.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. But you can upload everything and it's an ebook.
Mm-hmm. Amazon, I believe, would be considered your publisher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm working on an ebook, and it's called. I know, and it's called "Lessons on How to Stay Single: The Memoirs of an Ex-Fuckboy." And I just go every chapter by chapter of different women that I've dated in my life. Obviously, don't use any names, but different women I've dated in my life, and write about the lessons I've learned, the crazy stories with that person, and things like that. And there's a much more where that came from for those stories. So.
Okay, I can't wait for that book to come out. Obviously, it takes time. Books take a very, very long time to write. But when you're back in town, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I think when I release this, you're gonna be highly anticipated to come back again. Because I've had people become highly anticipated. I'm like, oh shit! Thank you for listening, first of all, and absolutely, let me get these people back on. But dude, thank you so much for taking that time. I know that. So for those that don't know, for those that are listening and not watching on the YouTube, we pretty much knocked out 2 episodes in one hit, in one sitting. So Hans is used to it. When it comes to shooting and filming, it doesn't take, like I said, hey, 2:45, maybe an hour sessions. We've been doing this for like 4 hours. So I definitely want to thank you so much for coming through. Hopefully I get this one right. To watch with your eyes what you heard with your ears, make sure to check us out on YouTube. Comment down below. Smash that like button.
There it is.
And you can check us out on Apple, Spotify, Google. And on that, guys, thank you so much for listening. On that, I'm out.